This woman is nothing but a complete fraud. Quinn's voice echoed through the boardroom, his finger pointed directly at me. Every contract she claims to have secured is either grossly exaggerated or entirely fabricated. 20 pairs of expectant eyes turned to me. The projector hummed in the background, displaying Quinn's presentation titled Financial Discrepancies, Addressing Performance Misrepresentation. I sat motionless as he continued his assault. I've reviewed every supposed deal she's brought in. The numbers don't add up. The clients she claims to have secured don't exist at the scale she's reporting. What we have here is a systematic attempt to mislead this board about her performance. The board president, Iris, leaned forward. These are serious allegations, Quinn. I don't make them lightly. As chief financial officer, it's my responsibility to ensure fiscal integrity. He distributed folders to each board member. You'll find detailed analysis showing the discrepancies between what she's reported and what our system actually contains. My boss, Tony, who had championed my hiring 6 months ago, wouldn't meet my eyes. What's most concerning, Quinn continued, adjusting his tie, is that when questioned about these inconsistencies, she provided documentation that doesn't match our official records. The whispering started. I could feel my career disintegrating with each passing second. In my 15 years with this company, I've never seen such blatant deception, Quinn concluded. I recommend immediate termination. I finally stood up. The room quieted. I walked to my briefcase without a word, removed a leather portfolio, and placed it on the table. What's this supposed to be? Quinn asked, irritation evident in his voice. The truth, I replied, opening the portfolio. Inside were the original contracts, not copies, but the actual documents with real signatures, watermarks, and official stamps. These are the original contracts I submitted, every single one. I placed them one by one on the table. Interestingly, they don't match the versions currently in our system. Quinn laughed nervously. Anyone can create fake documents. That's why I invited someone else to join us today. I checked my watch. She should be arriving any minute. The door opened, and every head turned. A woman in an impeccably tailored suit walked in. Dahlia, the procurement director from our largest new client. I apologize for my lateness, she said. Traffic was terrible. Quinn's face drained of color. Dahlia approached the table. I understand there's some confusion about our contract. Perfect timing, I said. Would you mind confirming which version of these documents your company signed? She examined both sets of contracts, mine and the ones Quinn had distributed. These, she said, pointing to my originals, are what we signed. The others have been altered. Our commitment was for twice the amount shown in those copies. The silence that followed was deafening. If you're invested in this story already, take a second to like and subscribe. I promise what happens next will completely change how you think about workplace revenge. My name is Lyra Keller. 6 months ago, I was hired as the Director of Market Expansion for a multinational company that specializes in enterprise software solutions. My background isn't typical. I didn't graduate from an elite university or climb the traditional corporate ladder. Instead, I built my reputation by successfully entering untapped markets that others deemed too risky or unprofitable. When I was hired, the company was struggling to grow beyond its established markets. The board wanted fresh ideas, which put me at odds with Quinn Reynolds, the long-standing CFO who preferred safe, predictable strategies. We need innovation, Tony had told me during my interview. Our traditional approaches aren't yielding results anymore. What he didn't say was that Quinn controlled nearly every aspect of the company's financial operations with an iron grip. Any deviation from his methods was treated as a threat. I spent my first month studying the markets everyone else had overlooked. While other executives focused on saturated territories, I identified 5 emerging regions with untapped potential. My approach was unconventional. Rather than offering our standard packages, I created tailored solutions specific to each region's unique challenges. Within 3 months, I had secured contracts worth more than what the company had achieved in the previous year combined. The board was thrilled. Everyone except Quinn. It started small. Reports I submitted would be questioned. Numbers would mysteriously change between my submission and the board review. Client communications would get delayed or lost entirely. System glitches, Quinn would explain with a thin smile whenever I raised concerns. Then came the reassignments. Key team members who supported my projects were suddenly transferred to other departments. Resources I had been promised were redirected to more pressing initiatives. Despite these obstacles, I continued to bring in new business. Each success seemed to intensify Quinn's efforts to undermine me. One evening, while working late, I noticed something strange. I was reviewing a contract in the system that I had personally finalized the previous week. The numbers didn't match my records. The commitment amount had been reduced by 40%. I checked another contract. Same issue. Then another. All modified. That night, I began keeping physical copies of everything. I started documenting every interaction, every submission, every glitch. I recorded dates, times, witnesses. I built my case methodically, knowing I would need irrefutable evidence. What I didn't expect to discover was the money trail. While tracking the discrepancies in our client payments, I noticed a pattern. Funds would be received in full, but only partially recorded in our financial system. The differences were significant, but distributed across multiple accounts in ways that wouldn't trigger automatic audits. I needed help from someone who could access the financial records without alerting Quinn. Penny from IT had always been friendly, and I sensed she had her own reasons to distrust the CFO. I need to verify some payment records, I told her over coffee one day. Off the books. She studied me carefully. Quinn monitors everything in the financial databases. I know. After a long pause, she said, "Give me 3 days." True to her word, Penny provided me with access logs showing who had modified the contracts and when. Every change traced back to Quinn's credentials or those of his 2 closest allies in the finance department. But I still needed to understand why. What was Quinn gaining from sabotaging my work? The answer came from an unexpected source. During a company happy hour, Quinn's assistant, Jasper, had too much to drink. "He's terrified of you," Jasper slurred. "Says you're exposing his whole operation." "What operation?" I asked casually. Jasper leaned in. "The clients. He's been skimming from the big accounts for years. Your new contracts don't fit his system." That was the missing piece. My tailored contracts included detailed payment tracking that would make Quinn's skimming scheme impossible to maintain. He wasn't just protecting his territory, he was protecting his fraud. I spent the next month gathering evidence while pretending to be demoralized by the mounting obstacles. I let Quinn believe he was winning, that I was considering resignation, all while building an airtight case. The timing of his attack today wasn't coincidental. Tomorrow, the board was scheduled to review my proposal for a transparent payment tracking system that would have exposed Quinn's entire operation. He had to discredit me today. What he didn't know was that I had already shared my findings with external auditors and law enforcement. The investigation was well underway. As Dahlia confirmed the authenticity of my contracts, Quinn's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I knew exactly what message he had received. The authorities had just arrived at the building. Quinn stood abruptly. "This meeting is over. We need to verify these claims properly." "Sit down, Quinn," Iris commanded. "We're just getting started." The door opened again. This time, it was building security, accompanied by 2 people in suits. "Quinn Reynolds?" one of them asked, showing identification. "We need you to come with us." Quinn's face contorted with rage as he turned to me. "You think you've won? You have no idea what you've done." Quinn looked for allies around the room, finding none. The board members who had praised his financial acumen for years now stared at him with dawning horror. "This is absurd," he sputtered, pointing at me. "She's manipulated you all. These so-called original contracts are the forgeries." The security personnel stepped closer. "You want to know what really happened?" I asked the board, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Every contract I secured was immediately altered in our system. The payment amounts were reduced, terms were changed, and the differences were being siphoned elsewhere." Iris examined one of the contracts. "These modifications would have cost us millions. 27 million to be exact," I said, "over just the past 6 months." Quinn lunged toward me suddenly, his face twisted with rage. "You destroyed everything." Security intercepted him before he could reach me. As they restrained him, a flash drive fell from his pocket, skidding across the polished floor to stop at my feet. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. "Don't," Quinn warned, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. "You have no idea what's on there." But I did know. It was the final piece I needed. As Quinn was escorted from the room, Tony cleared his throat. "Lyra, I think we all deserve a complete explanation." "Of course," I agreed. "But first, there's something you all need to see." I connected the flash drive to the boardroom computer. The screen filled with spreadsheets, intricate financial records spanning 15 years. Quinn's records. Every transaction, I explained. Every manipulated contract. Every diverted payment. He kept meticulous records of his own fraud. The board members leaned forward, stunned by the scope of the deception. How did you know about this drive? Iris asked. I smiled slightly. I didn't know he carried it with him, but I knew it existed. Quinn was too careful not to keep records. What I didn't tell them was how close I'd come to missing everything, how Quinn had nearly succeeded in destroying my career before I caught on to his scheme, how my discovery had been part luck, part desperation. It began 3 months after I joined the company. I had just closed a major deal with Dahlia's firm when I received an unexpected visit from Harriet, one of our longtime clients. I wanted to thank you in person, she said, sitting across from me. Your redesigned payment structure saved us considerable resources. I was confused. I haven't worked on your account, Harriet frowned. But I was told, the new quarterly billing cycle, the adjusted service tiers. When was this implemented? I asked. Last month. The notification came on company letterhead, signed by you. My signature, my name, changes I never authorized. After Harriet left, I dug through every communication with her company. Nothing matched what she described. When I accessed the client portal, however, there they were, service changes bearing my electronic signature. I took my concerns to Tony that afternoon. It's probably a misunderstanding, he said dismissively. Quinn mentioned you were making adjustments to several accounts. I've never touched Harriet's account. Tony sighed. Look, Quinn has managed our client relationships for years. If he says these changes were authorized, I'm inclined to believe him. That night, I couldn't sleep. Someone had used my credentials to modify client contracts. But why? The changes didn't benefit the company. They actually reduced our revenue while making it appear the clients were getting a better deal. Unless. The next morning, I contacted Harriet again. One more question. Where do you send your payments now? Same as always, she replied. Though the account number changed recently. Could you send me those details? When I saw the new account information, something clicked. It wasn't a company account I recognized. I needed to verify my suspicion, but I couldn't trust anyone inside the finance department. That's when I remembered Penny from IT. We'd chatted occasionally in the break room, and she'd mentioned her frustration with Quinn's department repeatedly. The finance systems are held together with tape and good intentions, she'd told me once. Quinn refuses any updates that would make tracking easier. Now I understood why. Penny helped me access the payment logs without triggering alerts. What we discovered was stunning. Clients were paying the original contracted amounts, but only portions were being recorded in our official system. The differences vanished into a network of accounts just outside the company's regular audit scope. This is way beyond a few accounting tricks, Penny whispered as we reviewed the data. This is systematic fraud. How long has it been happening? Penny scrolled through the records. Based on these patterns? Years, maybe since Quinn became CFO. As I uncovered more details, I realized the true scope of Quinn's operation. He hadn't just been stealing, he'd built an entire shadow financial system within the company. Anyone who threatened that system found themselves marginalized or forced out, which explained why he'd targeted me so aggressively. My approach to contracts included transparent tracking mechanisms that would have made his diversions impossible. He tried to force out 3 expansion directors before you, Penny revealed. Each time someone got close to his operation, they'd suddenly face accusations of incompetence. Why hasn't anyone caught this before? Quinn controls all financial reporting. The board sees only what he wants them to see. I spent weeks gathering evidence, documenting every diverted payment, every altered contract. I needed to be certain before making accusations against someone with Quinn's influence. What I didn't anticipate was how quickly he would move against me. One Tuesday morning, I arrived to find my access to client accounts restricted. By afternoon, several of my team members had been reassigned. By the end of the week, rumors were circulating about discrepancies in my reports. Quinn was setting me up to take the fall. I had 2 choices, run or fight. I chose to fight, but on my terms. Rather than confronting Quinn directly, I contacted Dahlia and several other clients privately. I explained that there appeared to be system issues affecting their contracts and asked them to verify the terms they'd agreed to. Their responses confirmed everything. The contracts in our system bore little resemblance to what they'd signed. This is troubling, Dahlia told me during a confidential lunch. We specifically chose your company because of the terms you offered. Would you be willing to state that officially if needed? She studied me carefully. You're planning something. I'm protecting myself and our clients. Dahlia nodded slowly. Count me in. With client confirmation, I approached Serena. the company's legal counsel. I presented my evidence without accusation, framing it as a system problem I'd discovered. This requires immediate investigation, Serena said after reviewing my documentation. But proceed carefully. If what you're suggesting is true, the person responsible won't go down without a fight. She was right. The next day, my work laptop mysteriously crashed, wiping weeks of local files. Then my office was accidentally locked, preventing access to physical documents I'd stored there. Quinn was covering his tracks. What he didn't know was that I'd already duplicated everything. Physical copies were stored off-site. Digital backups existed on drives Quinn couldn't access. I was ready for his final move, which came sooner than expected. Yesterday, Quinn called for an emergency board meeting to address critical financial discrepancies. I knew he was making his play to have me terminated before I could expose him. He's going to try to destroy you tomorrow, Penny warned me. He's been pulling reports all day, building a case. Let him, I replied. It's exactly what I've been waiting for. The night before the board meeting, I received an unexpected visitor at my apartment. A nervous young man fidgeted on my doorstep. My name is Royce, he said. I work in accounting under Quinn. I know who you are. Quinn ordered me to alter your client contracts in the system. I've been doing it for months. His hands trembled. I didn't know it was part of something bigger until I overheard him on the phone yesterday. He's planning to destroy all the original records after tomorrow's meeting. Why are you telling me this? Because I can't be part of it anymore. He handed me a small object. This fell from Quinn's jacket today. It's everything. His entire operation. The flash drive that now displayed its secrets to the stunned board. Every transaction is documented here, I explained to the board members, including the offshore accounts where the money was transferred. Tony looked physically ill. How much are we talking about? Based on these records? Approximately $112 million over 15 years. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Iris banged her gavel for order. We need to contact the authorities immediately. They're already here, I said quietly. The FBI has been building a case for weeks. Those agents who escorted Quinn out, they weren't building security. As the implications sank in, Dahlia stood. In light of these revelations, my company would like to reaffirm our commitment to our original contract terms, provided we can be assured of proper handling going forward. Other board members began asking questions simultaneously, the room filling with anxious voices. Amid the chaos, my phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. You think this is over? Check the Panama files. I felt a chill run through me. The Panama files were mentioned in Quinn's records. A secondary set of accounts I hadn't been able to access. Whatever they contained, Quinn believed they would change everything. And somewhere in the building, an alarm began to sound. The alarm wailed through the building, red emergency lights flashing in the hallway outside the boardroom. What's happening? Iris demanded, rising from her chair. Before anyone could answer, the lights went out. The windowless boardroom plunged into darkness, broken only by the glow of emergency exit signs and the scattered light from phone screens. Everyone stay calm, Tony said, his voice betraying his own anxiety. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting strange shadows across the worried faces around the table. My phone vibrated again. Now you understand. This was never just about money. Serena burst through the door. We need to evacuate. Now. Someone triggered the fire suppression system and locked down the server rooms. The evidence, I gasped, lunging for the flash drive still connected to the boardroom computer. Leave it, Serena ordered. Security has the building surrounded. Nothing leaves. You don't understand, I insisted, yanking the drive free. This isn't a coincidence. As we filed into the hallway, the sprinkler system activated, soaking us in seconds. Board members scattered toward the exits, while security personnel shouted directions over the alarm. I felt a hand grip my arm. It was Penny, her face tense. This is a data purge, she hissed in my ear as we moved with the crowd. Someone's trying to wipe the servers remotely. If they succeed, half your evidence vanishes. My mind raced. Quinn was in custody, but he wasn't working alone. Someone was executing a contingency plan. The Panama files, I muttered. What are they? I don't know exactly, but Quinn kept them on a separate secured server. Whatever they contain, it's serious enough that Quinn kept them isolated from everything else. We reached the lobby where dozens of employees huddled in confused groups. Through the glass doors, I could see police cars and fire trucks arriving. I need to get to Quinn's office, I told Penny. Are you insane? The building's on lockdown, which means whatever they're trying to hide is still here. This is our only chance. Penny hesitated, then nodded. Fifth floor security office. I can override the elevator lockdown from there. We slipped away from the crowd, taking a service corridor that bypassed the main security checkpoint. Penny swiped her badge at a maintenance elevator. This doesn't connect to the central system, she explained as the doors closed. It's for facility management. The elevator groaned upward, stopping at the fifth floor. The security office was empty. Everyone had deployed to manage the evacuation. Penny slid into the chair at the main terminal. I need 2 minutes. I watched the door while she typed furiously, bypassing security protocols and disabling alarms. Got it, she announced. Quinn's office is unlocked, but we have maybe 10 minutes before someone notices these overrides. I'll be quick. We took the stairs to the executive floor, now eerily silent. Quinn's corner office door swung open at my touch. Inside, everything looked immaculate. Too immaculate. Someone's already been here, I noted, seeing the perfectly arranged desk. There's not even a coffee cup. What exactly are we looking for? Penny asked, glancing nervously at her watch. I'm not sure. I ran my hands along the underside of the desk, checking for hidden compartments. Nothing. Try the painting, Penny suggested, pointing to the landscape on the wall. Classic hiding spot. I removed the painting, revealing an electronic safe. Can you crack it? Penny examined the keypad. Not without equipment, but she pulled out her phone and took a picture of the safe. Let me send this to someone. While she worked, I searched the rest of the office. The bookshelves held leather-bound finance volumes, awards, and family photos. I paused at one showing Quinn with a woman and teenage boy. Quinn doesn't have children, I murmured, studying the image. That's his nephew, Ryan, Penny said without looking up. Quinn's been his guardian since his sister died 10 years ago. The pieces clicked into place. The overseas accounts, they're not just for Quinn. Before Penny could respond, her phone chimed. My contact says this safe model has a design flaw. If you enter the wrong code 3 times, it triggers a factory reset and opens with the default code. What's the catch? If there's a security protocol installed, it might trigger data deletion first. I stared at the safe. We have to risk it. I deliberately entered 3 wrong codes. The safe beeped angrily, then went silent. A green light appeared. Try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Penny suggested. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single tablet computer, secured with a biometric lock. Now what? We can't fake his fingerprint, I thought for a moment. We don't need to. We just need to find his backup. I examined the tablet closely. Look at the edge. There's a micro SD card slot. Using my fingernail, I carefully extracted the tiny card. This is what we need. Penny checked her watch. We need to go. Now. We returned to the lobby just as a head count was finishing. No one had noticed our absence in the chaos. Outside, the situation had escalated. FBI agents were now visibly present, interviewing executives and securing evidence. I slipped the SD card into my pocket just as Agent Kelton approached me. Miss Keller, we need your statement about Mr. Reynolds. Of course. And we'll need all evidence you've collected. I handed over the flash drive. Everything I have is here. It wasn't a complete lie. The SD card wasn't mine. Yet. 4 hours later, after endless questioning and documentation, I finally returned to my apartment. The building was still being swept for evidence, and we were told it would remain closed for days. I inserted the SD card into my laptop and held my breath. Password protected, of course. I tried various combinations based on what I knew about Quinn, birthdays, addresses. Nothing worked. Then I remembered the photo. I tried his nephew's birth date. The files unlocked. What I found stunned me. The Panama files weren't just financial records. They were communications. Hundreds of emails between Quinn and board members, executives, even competitors. Quinn had been blackmailing half the company leadership for years. I scrolled through file after file, my horror growing. Quinn had dirt on everyone. Gambling debts, affairs, medical conditions they'd hidden, questionable past business dealings. He'd built his position not just through financial fraud but through systematic manipulation. And buried in those communications was something even more disturbing. Evidence that Tony, my own boss, had been complicit from the beginning. He hadn't just known about Quinn's scheme, he'd been an architect of it. My phone rang, startling me. Unknown number. Hello? Lyra, it's Dahlia. Something's wrong. The FBI just questioned me for 3 hours about my relationship with you. My blood ran cold. What did they ask? They wanted to know if you offered me personal incentives to support your story against Quinn. They showed me documentation suggesting you've been siphoning funds yourself. That's impossible. That's what I told them. But Lyra, they had evidence. Bank transfers with your signature. Emails that appeared to come from you. My mind raced. Someone was framing me, trying to make it look like I was the criminal. Don't worry, I assured her. I can prove these are forgeries. After we hung up, I dove back into the Panama files. If someone was setting me up, the evidence would be here. It took hours of searching, but I found it. A detailed plan to use me as a scapegoat if Quinn's scheme was ever discovered. The plan included fake accounts in my name, fabricated communications, even a timeline for when to deploy the false evidence. And at the bottom of the document was an electronic signature, Tony Mitchell, Chief Strategy Officer. My own boss had selected me specifically because my background made me the perfect fall person. No elite education, no powerful family connections, no long history with the company. If things went wrong, I would take the blame while the real perpetrators walked away clean. The document was dated 2 weeks before I was hired. My phone rang again. This time it was Serena. The FBI is issuing a warrant for your arrest, she said without preamble. They're claiming you orchestrated the whole scheme and framed Quinn. That's absurd. I've given them all the evidence. Evidence they're now claiming you fabricated. Quinn is telling them you hacked the system to alter records and make him appear guilty. Why would they believe him over me? Serena hesitated. Because Tony is backing his story. And so are 3 board members. The air left my lungs. They were cutting me loose, making me the sacrifice to save themselves. What do I do? Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending someone you can trust. She'll be there in 20 minutes. I ended the call, my hands shaking. My career, my freedom, my entire future hung in the balance. Everything I'd worked for was about to be destroyed. Unless. I looked again at the Panama files. Quinn had been meticulous in his documentation, recording every conversation, every deal, every secret. He'd built his leverage through perfect information. And now I had it all. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. She held up an ID. Mira Torres, federal prosecutor. I opened the door. Serena sent you? She nodded grimly. We don't have much time. In about an hour, agents will arrive with a warrant for your arrest. The evidence against you has been manufactured brilliantly. I have proof it's fake. Show me. I led her to my laptop, explaining the Panama files as we went. Everything is here. The original scheme, the contingency plans, the real conspirators. She examined the files carefully. This changes everything, but it won't be enough. What do you mean? They'll claim you created these files to implicate others. We need something Quinn and Tony can't explain away. My phone buzzed with a text from Penny. They're cleaning house. Security just escorted me out. Building access revoked. Then another text. This one from an unknown number. You think those files will save you? Check your bank accounts. With growing dread, I opened my banking app. My accounts had been drained. Worse, there were incoming transfers from company accounts. Transfers I never made, designed to make me look guilty. They're setting me up in real time, I whispered. Mira's expression hardened. We need to move now. Grab only what's essential. As I packed a small bag, another text arrived. Board emergency session tomorrow, 9 a.m. Your termination and criminal referral on the agenda. Iris. I showed Mira. It's over. Not yet, she replied, a determined glint in her eye. Tomorrow's board meeting is exactly what we need. They're going to fire me and hand me over to the FBI. Not if we arrive with the right audience. She made a call. This is Torres. I need the full team ready for tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., and contact Judge Warner for emergency warrants. We're going to need at least 15. She turned to me after ending the call. Do you have enough evidence to prove who's involved? I nodded slowly, an idea forming. Actually, I think I know how to make them confess. How? I smiled grimly. By giving them exactly what they want, me, completely discredited and desperate. As I outlined my plan, Mira's expression shifted from skepticism to cautious approval. It's risky, she warned. If they don't take the bait. They will, I assured her. Because there's one thing Quinn taught me without realizing it. What's that? The most dangerous person is the one with nothing left to lose. I sent a single text to Tony. I know about Panama. Meet me tonight, or everything goes public. His reply came seconds later. Where? The hotel lobby was nearly empty at 11 p.m. I sat in a corner booth, the SD card clutched in my palm, watching the revolving door. Mira and her team were positioned throughout the hotel, invisible but present, Tony arrived precisely on time, his usual confident stride betrayed by nervous glances over his shoulder. He slid into the booth across from me, refusing the drink I'd ordered for him. "This is incredibly inappropriate," he began, his voice low. "You're under investigation." "So I've heard." Funny how quickly I went from rising star to criminal mastermind. "If you have something to say it quickly. I'm only here as a courtesy." I placed my phone on the table, recording app visibly running. Tony's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" Being transparent. Something this company could use more of. His hand shot out to grab my phone, but I pulled it back. "Touch it, and federal agents will be at this table in seconds." He froze, then leaned back, forcing a smile. "You're not thinking clearly, Lyra. Whatever you believe you know." "I know everything, Tony. The Panama files, the 15-year fraud scheme, your role in selecting me as the perfect scapegoat." His expression didn't change, but a vein pulsed at his temple. "Fiction. Quinn has clearly manipulated you. That's your defense? After everything in those files?" I laughed bitterly. "You recruited me specifically because I had the right background to take the fall. No family money, no prestigious degrees, no powerful connections. Just enough talent to be believable as someone who got in over her head. These accusations are absurd. Then why were offshore accounts established in my name 3 weeks before you hired me? Why does the contingency plan in the Panama files describe exactly what's happening now, right down to which board members would support a narrative blaming me?" A flicker of uncertainty crossed Tony's face. He hadn't expected me to have such specific details. "What do you want?" he finally asked. "Originally, justice. Now, survival." I slid a small envelope across the table. Inside is an account number. 5 million transferred by 8 a.m. tomorrow, and the SD card is yours. I disappear. You and the board continue your comfortable lives. Tony's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe you'd walk away for money? You've destroyed my reputation. By tomorrow, I'll be unemployable and probably facing charges. What choice do I have?" He studied me, searching for deception. Finding none, he took the envelope. "If this is a trap, it's survival, for both of us." After Tony left, Mira emerged from a nearby alcove. "He bought it." "Of course he did," I replied. "People like Tony always believe others can be bought because they can be." "Did you get everything?" She held up her phone. "Every word. Plus his reaction when you mentioned the accounts established before your hiring. That alone shows prior knowledge." "It won't be enough. We need tomorrow to work perfectly." "It will," Mira assured me. "Get some rest. Tomorrow will be the performance of your life." The next morning, I arrived at the board meeting flanked by Mira and 2 federal agents. My appearance caused an immediate stir. I wasn't supposed to know about this meeting, let alone arrive with federal authorities. Iris recovered first. "Miss Keller, this is a closed session. Concerning my termination and criminal referral, I believe I'm entitled to be present." Tony's face remained impassive, but his eyes darted to the clock. 8:47 a.m. No money had been transferred. He'd called my bluff. Or so he thought. "Miss Torres is a federal prosecutor," I continued, gesturing to Mira. "She's here because I've been cooperating with an ongoing investigation." "Into Quinn's activities, yes," Tony interjected smoothly. "Unfortunately, new evidence suggests Miss Keller herself may have been involved." Mira stepped forward. "Actually, our investigation has expanded significantly in the past 24 hours. On cue, the boardroom doors opened again. FBI agents entered, followed by Penny and someone I recognized from Quinn's personal photos, his nephew, Ryan. "What is the meaning of this?" Iris demanded. "Ryan has provided us with critical information," Mira announced. As Quinn Reynolds' ward and a former intern in the finance department, he had unique access to his uncle's activities. All eyes turned to the young man, who looked both terrified and resolved. "My uncle made me help him," Ryan said, his voice shaking. "At first, it was just small things, changing numbers in spreadsheets, backdating documents. I didn't understand what I was doing. When I figured it out and threatened to come forward, he reminded me that he controlled my college fund, my housing, everything." Tony's face had gone pale. "This is preposterous. You can't possibly believe." "We have Ryan's sworn testimony," Mira interrupted, "along with data recovered from his personal devices showing instructions from both Quinn Reynolds and you, Mr. Mitchell." The boardroom erupted into chaos. Several board members rose from their seats, demanding explanations. Others sat frozen, likely those implicated in the Panama files. Iris banged her gavel repeatedly. "Order! We will have order!" When the room finally quieted, Mira continued. Last night, Mr. Mitchell met with Miss Keller and effectively confirmed his knowledge of the fraud scheme, including the establishment of false accounts in her name before she was even hired. That's a lie, Tony snapped. I met with her as a courtesy, nothing more. I reached into my bag and placed a device on the table. This is why you couldn't find the SD card when you had my apartment searched at 3 a.m., Tony. It was never there. His face went from pale to ashen. I pressed play, and Tony's voice filled the room. What do you want? My recorded response. Originally, justice. Now, survival. The recording continued, damning in its clarity. When it finished, I looked directly at Tony. You were right not to transfer the money. It was a trap. I never wanted your money. I wanted your confession. One of the agents stepped forward, producing a warrant. Anthony Mitchell, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. As agents handcuffed Tony, the boardroom doors opened once more. Quinn was escorted in, already in custody. His eyes locked with mine, filled with cold hatred. Tell them, Quinn, I challenged. Tell them how you selected me because I'd make the perfect scapegoat. Quinn's lips curved into a smile. You think you've won? Look around this room. Half the people here were involved. They'll bury this, bury you. That's why we're not relying on just them, Mira replied. On her signal, the blinds were opened, revealing the office bullpen beyond the glass walls. Dozens of employees stood watching, alongside a group of journalists. Penny had positioned cameras to broadcast the entire confrontation throughout the building. The Panama files have been secured as evidence, Mira announced to the room. Multiple federal agencies are currently executing search warrants on the homes and offices of everyone implicated in those files. 3 board members abruptly stood, reaching for their phones. Agents intercepted them. No calls at this time, Mira instructed. Everyone remains here until we've conducted initial interviews. Iris, ashen-faced, turned to me. You've destroyed this company. No, I corrected her. Quinn, Tony, and everyone who enabled them destroyed it. I'm trying to save what's left. Over the next hour, agents led away 7 board members and 3 executives. Those remaining sat in stunned silence as federal teams secured computers and documents throughout the building. When the initial chaos subsided, Iris approached me in the hallway. The board members who weren't involved would like to speak with you. In a smaller conference room, 4 shell-shocked board members waited. The eldest, Grace, spoke first. We've been blind fools. The company is facing catastrophe, stock in freefall, clients fleeing, employees in turmoil. What do you need from me? I asked. Your help, Grace replied simply. You uncovered this. You understood the scheme when none of us did. We need someone who can rebuild trust, both internally and with our clients. You want me to stay? After everything? We're offering you the CFO position, with a mandate to implement whatever transparency measures you deem necessary. I almost laughed at the irony. You realize most of the executive team is in federal custody, which is why we need to move quickly. The company can survive this, but only with the right leadership. I thought of all the honest employees whose livelihoods depended on the company's survival, people like Penny, who had risked everything to help expose the truth. I have conditions, I said. Full audit powers, a complete overhaul of financial systems, and immunity from civil litigation for whistleblowers like Penny. Done, Grace agreed without hesitation. 3 days later, I stood before hundreds of anxious employees in the company auditorium. Behind me, a presentation displayed my plan for rebuilding the company's financial structure and ethical foundation. Many of you knew something was wrong, I began. You saw inconsistencies, felt pressured to ignore protocols, or witnessed retaliation against those who asked questions. Today marks the end of that culture. I outlined the changes. New financial tracking systems, anonymous reporting channels, regular external audits, and a revised leadership structure with built-in checks and balances. Every person in this room has a choice to make, I concluded. Help rebuild this company on a foundation of integrity, or leave. There will be no middle ground. The applause began hesitantly, then grew to a thunderous standing ovation. Employees who had feared for their jobs now saw a path forward, difficult but clear. As the crowd dispersed, Dahlia approached me. Impressive speech. I almost believe this place can be saved. It can be, with the right partners. I handed her a new contract. Your company was our biggest client before all this. I'd like you to be our first under the new system. She smiled, taking the document. Bold move, starting with the client who witnessed your lowest moment. Also my finest. depending on how you look at it. Dahlia nodded. I'll review this with our team, but she extended her hand. I think we can do business. 6 months later, I stood in my new office, not Quinn's old corner suite, which had converted into a collaborative workspace, but a glass-walled room centrally located among the finance team. Transparency wasn't just a policy now. It was built into our physical environment. On my desk sat a small trophy the staff had given me, a miniature magnifying glass mounted on a plaque reading, Truth Finder. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Former CFO, Quinn Reynolds, sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Below it, a secondary headline, CSO Anthony Mitchell agrees to testimony against remaining conspirators. Justice, finally. A knock at my door pulled me from my thoughts. It was Penny, recently promoted to IT security director. The quarterly audit team is here, she announced. And you've got that client call in 15 minutes. I'll be right there. As Penny left, I took one final look at the article on my phone. The last paragraph noted that all of Quinn's assets had been seized, including the funds intended for his nephew's education. Ryan, who had been granted immunity for his cooperation, now faced an uncertain future. I opened my desk drawer and removed a letter I'd been meaning to send. Inside was a scholarship offer for Ryan, not from me personally, but from a foundation I'd established using a portion of my new salary. The Transparency and Leadership Foundation would help support whistleblowers and their families, starting with Quinn's nephew. Some might call it mercy. I preferred to think of it as the final piece of my revenge, ensuring that even Quinn's attempt to corrupt his nephew ultimately failed. I sealed the envelope and placed it in my outbox. Then I gathered my materials for the audit team waiting in the conference room. Another routine check in our new system of perpetual verification. The company was healing. Our stock price had stabilized. Clients were returning. And the culture of fear had been replaced with something revolutionary in the corporate world: honesty. As I walked through the open office, employees nodded respectfully, not with the fearful deference they'd shown Quinn, but with genuine appreciation. I'd shown them that integrity wasn't just an abstract virtue, it was a practical business strategy. That was my true revenge, not just exposing the corrupt system, but building something better in its place. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. I share new corporate revenge stories every week, and your support helps this channel grow. Have you ever witnessed workplace corruption? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might inspire my next video.